Welcome, everyone, to Reason Speaks. I'm Ed Reason. Today, we had a topic, but my producer has something that's really on his mind, and he wanted to ask me a question, so we're going to just wing this one and see how it goes. JoeBoy, what is your question?
Ed, okay. You are the master. You're the guy who says you can remove all the obstacles that are in the way of my pursuit of happiness. So I got something in my way. Let's see if you can fix it.
Okay, what would that be?
Can you fix the political divide we have in our nation so we can sit at the coffee table and actually talk?
I can. It wouldn't be the most productive way to fix it quickly. However, there are ways we can heal these political divides because they are pretty deep. Anymore, we've seen it on TV. We hear it everywhere. You really can't even go to a family function without it breaking into some crazy discord and people hating each other. Now you got people that don't even come or invite people. They're mean on Facebook. It's just got way out of hand, and it happened very, very quickly. So why is that? What do you think the main driving force behind politics is, first of all? And let's start there, and then we can worry about a solution. First, we have to understand the problem. What's the problem with politics right now? I don't know what could be driving the problem. I'm not really sure what it could be. Let's think about it. It always comes down to that, doesn't it, folks? Really? It's money. Now, we may see it in different ways and so forth, but the whole political system is driven by money. So what is that? How are you going to take that out? Is it possible? Probably not likely. It's too embedded in there. But what we have to do is we have to get back to a civil discourse. Let's start within the family. Let's start between me and JoeBoy. If we have different... Yes, if he has a different political viewpoint than mine, it's okay that he's wrong, and we have to learn to accept that. No, I'm just joking. We have to learn to say, why is he coming from that standpoint? What is that? Maybe he has a point of reason there that we may look into, but you have to start by, as what's the old saying is, if you want to be heard, you have to listen. And
I don't just talk louder and louder.
Well, that seems to be the way they do it anymore, but that's really not the answer. Loudness doesn't overcome objections. It just makes the problem worse. Yes, we're in a case now that healing the emotional scars that are caused by emotional divides, which is embedded in the system. The system is built to drive people apart. That way they can keep them in different camps that they will continue to vote in the persuasion that they are in. It's meant to keep them there. Rarely do parties find a way to come together and try and join, despite what they may tell you, because this is only getting worse. And if it continues to go this way, this is really how civil wars develop. And that's really sad to say. My concern is that within your family, why can't you have a calm discourse that doesn't break down in ideological points of view or things that you've heard that may or may not be true? What do you think is causing it, Joe?
Oh, well, I have seen so many different things happen in this world, especially when it comes to politics. A number of years ago, now, I'm an IT guy during the day,
yes, sir.
And I produce your show and a number of shows at night. So I'm a busy guy. I got a lot to do. I literally lost a job because the client thought I was what he referred to as a dirty Democrat. Now, I'm not a dirty Democrat or a rotten Republican. I'm actually a moderate that leans conservative. But he believed it because they just had a large loss. The Republicans had a large loss with a candidate, and it was a large Democratic win. And I was wearing this blue shirt. And because of that, I was fired. Can you imagine getting fired over politics when they're even wrong? That I had nothing to do with it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's unfortunately the climate we're in. And ultimately, what do we think is really behind all this political divide and all this tension that's out there? What could be causing it? There's something out there. I'm not really sure what it is, but we will get to it. I promise you that. Is that we have to stop for just a moment. Don't listen and take things at whole cloth at what people tell you, whether it's the media, whether it's the politician himself, because this, JoeBoy, may come as a huge surprise to you. Politicians don't always tell the truth. Now, I know it's really hard to believe. And what's really absolutely crazy to me is everyone thinks their politician is the only one that's not lying. And I know, once again, the illumination has been brought out into the open, and now we can all see it for what it is.
Okay, so what are we going to do about it, Ed? What are you going to do? Tell me.
First thing we do is, why don't we start really not following necessarily the media? I don't care what your media preference is. Stop listening to talking points, because the media is an extension of the parties, whichever one they are. They're meant to get their ideological thoughts out there, or their talking points. And those aren't necessarily where the candidate stands. They're not necessarily who the candidate really is. I'm the type of person is that I need to see some results. I don't care what they are. Even if I don't like a result, I can judge a result. But most of the politicians are always telling you what they're going to do, not what they've done. And then when they did do something, they don't take credit for it or responsibility. So why don't we, and if we know that, or we suspect that there may be some hidden problem out there, they're not sure what's causing it, maybe if we held our politicians responsible for their choices and their decisions. And what do I mean by that? What if what they're doing causes a lot of people to lose their jobs? There's no consequences to the politician, no matter who they are. But what if that impacted their retirement? What if they had to pay civil penalties for what they do? And you know that politicians right now don't even get held liable financially for their escapades in Congress. They have a slush fund that pays for those escapades that we're paying for. So we're paying for them to do nefarious things to people that are entrusted to them. Their pages, their their representatives that work for them. And why is there such a slush fund for that? That seems wrong to me. And so if it comes down to money, we ought to make it a financial penalty for what they do. You know, they lose their retirement. They don't go in and come out 10 times richer when they went in. Well, that's not right. That's not what they're there for. They're there to serve us. So, JoeBoy, I think a good way to look at it is that we need to push back for laws that hold them responsible for their decisions, whatever they are, whatever party they are. I don't care. Let's start making people accountable and responsible, not just throw them out in 8-10 years, maybe, and they go out much more enriched than when they went in. But the problems still remain. How many cities?
In your list of obstacles, where does this fit?
I think it's under the psychological part of how people do things, your psychological approach, because we all get bought into an ideology or a belief or things we want to know or things we hope for. And so when people tell us what we want to hear, we tend to want to believe them. And of course, politicians are going to tell you what they want you to hear, not what you need to hear. And sooner or later, reality catches us all. So I think we have to look at how this psychologically affects people, because we're dealing with people's lives. We're dealing with countries. This is really, really important. And freedoms that are lost are never gotten back. And we can't afford to lose the freedoms that we have. They were too hard to get and cost too many lives to do so. Now, Joey, let me ask you a question. What do you think's a good solution for the problem? Or do you have one?
Well, I asked you the questions for a reason, because
that's true.
You're the solution man.
Well, I'm trying to get ideas because you know what? No one has all the answers, but together I think we have a solution. And again, my solution, coming back to it, is let's actually make people accountable for their choices. Let's actually make them financially accountable. That would get a few heads turning, I believe.
Well, I think getting people talking, and I know you've been a part of a show that talks about politics, correct?
Yes, sir. I've been involved with another podcast called Third Side Convo. And it's a very good podcast where they talk about political issues in a non-party manner, where they're not talking about specific
Wait, how can they do that? How can they do that? I mean, come on.
Well, they do that by trying to keep politicians' names out of it, try and not making it individual or personal, make it based on the idea, which tends to follow certain political views. And that's an okay discussion to have, because now you can have a discussion on the issue, not the person, because personalities can tend to override politics a lot of times. We're right in that type of a situation right now where personalities seem to be carrying a lot more weight than they should.
So how does that help?
Well, first of all, if you can get people on both sides of the aisle or of differing views to come together and actually listen to a viewpoint, there's a chance that you may be able to change a mind, or at least inform them of something they didn't know. And that's a big step. Right now, we can't even get into a point of having a discussion without it devolving immediately. And that's not healthy. That is not a good way to have a republic. That is not. And
So
it will
I'm not
succeed.
a rotten Republican?
Well, I don't know.
And they're not a dirty Democrat?
I don't know. They both of those could be true. But the color of your shirt isn't the color of your heart. And it isn't the color of your mind. And again, what person, and I use this analogy, what person in their reasonable mind would drill a hole in a boat they share with someone else? But that's what they're doing right now. We're drilling holes in a boat we share with someone. It doesn't work. We cannot live this way. And it's a passionate thing, because politics have become very passionate, because people are one issue people. They have this one issue and forget everything else. If I get this one issue, this person can do anything they want. I think that's really dangerous. We have to have a little bit of compromise. Not everyone gets what they want. And if they do, that's what I think they call that a dictatorship, if I'm not mistaken. But when in your political experience, JoeBoy, when you said that you got fired, how did that make you feel about the person that fired you and their political view?
Well, he was a very far right person, and I was very upset. I went to his sister, who I'd worked with a lot of times, and I explained the whole situation, tried to repair the relationship, get things going, and it didn't matter. The Republicans had lost that year, and it was massive, and it was such a divide that it was done. I, at that point, made a policy not to talk about politics at all, and I didn't for almost 10 years to help not hurt my business. And now I'm beginning to think that was a bad choice, because if no one's talking about it, how do we ever get any solutions?
Well, I think there's a way to talk about it. It's just like if you have to tell something to your kids that you don't really want to, or you got to change and reprimand. You know how that is. You might have to reprimand somebody. It can be done in a way not to diminish that person, not to hurt them, but to try to get them to change. And ultimately, we would like to see each other change, at least come to a ground somewhere, because we cannot continue on the path we are on. Ultimately, we're alienating people, and that's not good. We all share this existence together. And doing so, you have to be a little bit more tolerant, just a little bit more accepting. I don't agree with a lot of things people do, but they have the right to do that. And we should have the ability to accept people for those differences and tolerate them. Tolerance isn't accepting what you want, it's accepting what you don't want as well. So, you want to be a little more tolerant. You want tolerance, practice tolerance. And the political divide right now is such that it's meant to develop a separation, not to bring it together. That's why we're so far apart, and it's getting worse. And unfortunately, the further it gets apart, the more chance we end up in chaos, because that's where that process ends. So we have to do some healing. We have to come together. Let's start with your family. Listen to them. Stop listening. Trust me, folks, the TV does not have the answers. They have some of them, and they may have some good ideas. But please don't sit and watch. They call it the idiot box for a reason. It's an idiot box. It will make you dumber over time, and it's not healthy. Again, there's good ideas. I'm not saying never watch TV, but I promise you, when you're about 90 years old, you're not going to say, man, I sure wish I sat in front of that TV a whole lot more.
Aren't they watching TV right now? They're watching you, right?
That's true. And that's part of it. And part of it is getting different viewpoints and information. I think we also have to have someone that speaks with a little bit of reason, someone that speaks with a little bit more tolerance. And by tolerance, I mean accepting different viewpoints. Maybe not agreeing with them, maybe not even believing them, but accepting them as long as it's not damaging you in any way, causing you to relinquish or fall back on core beliefs you believe to be true. I think at that point, then that may be a little bit different. But everyone right now is in a very hyperbolic type of state. Everything. You watch the news, everything's end of the world. This person said that. And the most of the things they're saying are secondhand. They're paraphrased. They're cherry-picked. And that's not right. Again, you cannot trust these people. How many of these news people and news organizations have been sued for just outright lying? But there's no accountability. I think will bring the most amount of normalcy back to it when people are actually accountable for their actions and the things they say. Actually, in a financial way, because remember, I'm not sure what's driving all the issues anymore. I'm really not sure, but there's something that's working out there that's causing it. And until something is done about certain things, maybe nothing will ever change.
Okay, so if we take the money out, okay.
Oh, we talking about money.
Well, when we look at the people and the psychology of it, having, save the whales and let's use the whales for blubber, we have two sides of a thing, and no matter what, the people are making money.
That's
and
right.
You're right. I get it. I see the psychology of it. So now the question is, if I want to be able to pursue my happiness, if I want to go in that direction, how do I put that aside? How do I get people to talk about politics at the dinner table without screaming and yelling at my family? How do we do that?
Well, first, listen. People, in order to be understood, you have to understand and listen. Take time to actually listen to them and say, something I learned a long time ago, and it seems to work really good for me, is that even when you disagree with someone, one thing that you can always say that really cuts them short of having an argument. JoeBoy, you're yelling something at me. You know what I say? I understand. I understand. That doesn't mean I agree. Doesn't mean I believe it. I just understand. They've been heard. You've recognized that. You've not cut them short. And you move on. Because you don't have to agree with it. And you don't have to accept it. And even if they're doing that, I understand, kind of brings things to a normal. It kind of diffuses the situation just a little bit. When you're sitting at the dinner table, why does it have to be about politics? Why? Because politics drive our lives or how we act in our lives. So it's very important. I'm not saying politics aren't important. They are. We all live under them. But we all live under them. Not a Democrat, not a Republican. We will all suffer the same. And whether or not you believe you're on the right side or the wrong side, that's how the Civil War started. That's how all wars start, where someone is unwilling to yield or bend, unwilling to compromise. Politics is about compromise, but anymore, there is not. It's my way or not at all. It's 100% or nothing. That's why we have the divide we do. There is no compromise, and that's not a good recipe for success. But what do you think, and I'm going to turn it back to you, JoeBoy, what do you think you could do from just your standpoint? What do you think is a step of something maybe you could do?
Well, I try my best not to watch a lot of TV. Now, I did watch the debates. I do watch some of that stuff, and I talk with my friends about it and so forth, and give my opinions. And I understand that I also consider the source. They're just opinions. I personally think when it comes to politics that a informed republic is a better republic, and that we should learn about the
Absolutely.
candidates, and not just learn about the candidates themselves, but their issues and what they think about issues. I think if we actually cared about the issues rather than he's red or blue, that we might actually get better solutions. I have voted both sides. I've voted Republican and Democrat over the years, depending on the issue that person is that fits my need. And I think if we did that a little bit more, we might get some compromise and get some answers. And being able to talk about it, I think being able to talk about it is important.
Well, and I can't remember the exact phrase, but Thomas Jefferson said, and I'll paraphrase it to the best I can remember, is that when people are able to vote out of the Treasury, we're in trouble. And right now, that's the situation. People are voting from the Treasury what they think is best for their needs, not what's best for the country. Because the Democratic side of the country will not fall in hard times, and the Republican side won't. It'll fall on all of us. Now, some people will take more of a brunt here and there, but it affects all of us. You do not have one side to this. We are working or we should be working together. Our differences and our uniquenesses are what made America strong and what made it great. Now it's what's trying to pull it apart. And those are from outside forces trying to pull us apart. And what is it ultimately coming down to? I'm still struggling with what the issue may be. It's something out there, and we have to figure out what it's going to be.
I don't know where you got all that cash there, Ed. I don't know where you got all that cash, but
Well,
I'll see you in the parking lot later on, though. I promise I'll see you in the parking lot.
I'm a former politician, and this is my kind of a little outside the box type of thing. But I think I've had my fill of a politician that goes in broke and comes out 100 times richer when they come out on a salary that nowhere equates that money. Where does that money come from? But why is there no accountability to that? Why are not people saying no? Well, because we like that person. So we tolerate a lot of things that are inappropriate. And again, they're not stealing from me or you. They're stealing from us. And politics should be about making things better. But now it's about making people richer. And that's a problem. And until we can get people of all sides to come together for the common good, not what's just good for me. Saying I'm willing to do, you know what, JoeBoy, I don't agree with that, but you're right. You remember, I didn't like it in the past when politicians go in a back room and they'd work things out and they make compromise. They'd have to do a little of this and a little of that. Yeah, but at least they were working together. Now they just go in their different rooms and find out how to stick it to the other person. And that's not good. It's very sad. And
okay, Ed, that all sounds great, but what are we going to do about it?
as I said, I think it's very important, first of all, is please don't follow the media sources on what they say. They're extensions of the people that they're promoting. Left, right, good, bad, it doesn't really matter. You're not getting the real story. You're getting their condensed Reader's Digest version of the parts they want you to hear. What you have to do is, first of all, I'm the type of person that I don't care what you say. I care what you did. Show me the results. The results are the results. If someone's not willing to take accountability for what they did and said, yes, I made a mistake, or yes, I did that. How many politicians do you know that take credit for everything and have been responsible for nothing? That's not very normal. And first of all, if you think about it, that's not even, beyond not being reasonable. It's total nonsense. You can't do something without doing things wrong. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make bad decisions. Own them and move on. We all have to. They should have to too. Let's make the opportunity for them to earn gross amounts of money and do financial things that are unfathomable now. I mean, there's people who've been in office less than 4 years that went in with no money that have over $20 million right now on a $140,000 salary. That's insanity. You cannot tell me something isn't wrong with that. So what do? First of all, vote not with your party. Vote with your head. Use logic. Use a little reason. Follow the examples of what they are, or follow the results of what they've done. Don't just listen to them. Again, it requires a little work, but being in a democratic society and being responsible for freedom has a cost. This will make you an informed person. You don't go to a dentist and ask him about, so do you do dental work? Well, that's kind of what you're doing when you're asking information from people that they provide. Democrats are going to report information about Democrats, Republicans, and so forth, and they're going to give you just the parts they want you to hear, not the parts you need to hear. And I don't care who the politician is. I care what the politician does, how it affects all of us together. So what we need to do is be a little bit more proactive. Don't use the TV to get your information. Go to multiple sources. Look for contradictory ideas. Look for contradictory information and see if it holds true. See if it plays out. Don't discard it or just randomly excuse it because that's on that channel and it doesn't make sense. It may. No, it may not. But over time, the facts will come out. Be willing to look for the facts and the information. That, I think, is a really good way of really getting people that are in there. And, I've heard about term limits and so forth. Maybe that makes sense. But, the people vote them in, they get what they get. So, we're in a crazy time right now. But please hold your head up. Do the right thing for yourself and everyone. Don't just follow the information. Make a good decision. Remember, you're voting for your kids as well. And again, if you like what you hear, and we love the input, reach out to us. Subscribe to us. Hit the like bell. Subscribe to us via your favorite media source, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever makes sense. Like the bell so that we can notify you of when new videos and material comes out. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. And we look forward to the next episode. And be well, vote smart.
Thanks for answering my question, Ed. I was trying to mess you up because I figured it'd at least be entertaining, but evidently you did have something reasonable.
Well, I hope it was entertaining too. But no, everyone, I really appreciate JoeBoy. He pushes me in directions I probably wouldn't have known, and we weren't scripted. He said he was going to try and push me, and he did. I mean, I don't have all the answers like that, but I do have reasonable suggestions and ideas that I think will help. And if you can follow them, I know it will help. Any other questions there for you, JoeBoy? Did that take care of it?
No. I will go with that. That was cool. And I think you're almost out of time. So I guess you're supposed to close this.
Everyone, thank you so much. And we look forward to the next episode. Until then, be well.